You might not realize it, but the Almighty is placing pieces of your future into position long before you recognize their purpose. What feels like waiting is actually preparation. And what feels like uncertainty is often the doorway to something beautifully written for you. The moments that seem ordinary are quietly shaping the blessings that will one day change your life. Allah guides you through experiences that build your character, protect your heart, and strengthen your faith so that when His gift arrives, you are ready to embrace it fully. Your future is being formed with precision, and every chapter ahead carries goodness crafted specifically for your journey. When the Almighty shapes your journey, He prepares outcomes far beyond what your own plans could ever produce. You may hope for a small step forward, while He prepares an entire path filled with growth, wisdom, and protection. What feels like an interruption is often a gentle correction that leads you somewhere more meaningful. His design carries layers of mercy that only reveal themselves when the timing is right. You discover that His plan was crafted with far more love than anything you imagined. Your heart may cling to a specific dream, believing it to be the perfect destination. Yet the Almighty knows what lies behind every choice, every opportunity, and every direction. He sees the burdens you cannot carry and the harms you cannot detect. So He guides you away from what looks appealing but isn't truly beneficial. In that redirection, you gain clarity that transforms your view of life. You begin to understand that divine wisdom is always ahead of human desire. A person may feel confused when doors close unexpectedly, but each closure protects them from a path that would not have served their long-term growth. The Almighty never removes something without purpose. He waits until your heart is ready to perceive the deeper meaning behind the shift. What appears as loss is often the beginning of an unseen blessing. The moment understanding dawns, gratitude replaces disappointment. Life can change direction repeatedly, and every change carries guidance. The Almighty rearranges circumstances to move you away from situations that would weaken your spirit. He strengthens you through transitions that refine your character. Through these changes, you gain patience and resilience, two qualities essential for receiving future goodness. The journey becomes a source of purification that shapes your relationship with Him. The path you walk today may feel uncertain, yet behind that uncertainty unfolds a plan full of divine precision. Every delay, every pause, and every unexpected turn contributes to your preparation. The Almighty teaches you lessons that open your heart to greater blessings ahead. You begin to see that what felt like waiting was actually progress in a form you did not recognize. With time, you appreciate how deeply you were being guided. At moments, life may push you away from what you wanted, yet that very shift is often what saves you. The Almighty knows which people, places, and situations will elevate your soul, and which ones will drain it by redirecting you. He leads you toward the environment best suited for your growth. Only later do you understand how beautifully everything was arranged. Your prayers may seem unanswered, but they are never ignored. The Almighty responds in ways that align with your true needs rather than your temporary wishes. He grants what is best at the moment it will benefit you most. Through that timing, He teaches you trust. You learn that His awareness of your needs surpasses your own understanding. This trust brings a deep sense of peace. Every challenge carries meaning when viewed through the lens of divine planning. The Almighty uses difficulties to shape your perspective, soften your heart, and expand your patience. Through these tests, you gain strength and humility. These qualities become essential tools for receiving future blessings. You realize that hardship was never meant to break you, only to prepare you. Growth occurs quietly in the background of your life. While you focus on visible progress, the Almighty works on the unseen parts of your heart. He nurtures your sincerity, elevates your intentions, and clears your spiritual vision. This inner development becomes the foundation for everything that comes later. When the blessing finally arrives, you recognize that you were being built for it long before it appeared. Your journey may not resemble the path you expected, yet it carries a beauty you will appreciate with time. The Almighty guides your steps in ways that allow you to understand His mercy through lived experience. Each moment teaches you something about trust, gratitude, or contentment. These lessons prepare you to handle future blessings with wisdom rather than arrogance. His plan nurtures your character as much as it provides for your needs. When your heart becomes attached to a particular outcome, the Almighty gently reminds you that He knows what suits you better than you do. He may withhold something only to replace it with something more meaningful. Through this, you learn that divine withholding is not rejection, but protection. You begin to see how perfectly things unfold when you rely on Him rather than your expectations. Some of the greatest blessings in your life will arrive from directions you never anticipated. The Almighty opens doors you never knocked on and sends relief through people you never knew. Each unexpected blessing deepens your appreciation of His generosity. You realize that His care surrounds you in ways you had overlooked. Gratitude grows naturally when you witness His kindness manifesting so gently. When the Almighty removes you from a situation, He often spares you from burdens that would have overwhelmed your heart. You may not understand the wisdom at the moment, but clarity comes with time. What once felt painful becomes a source of relief when you recognize what you were protected from. This awareness strengthens your trust in His decisions. It reinforces the truth that His knowledge is perfect. A person may fear change, yet change is often the very mechanism by which divine mercy enters their life. The Almighty reshapes your circumstances so that your heart evolves. You learn to let go of what is temporary and hold firmly to what is lasting. Through those shifts, you mature spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. The new version of yourself becomes ready for blessings you once could not handle. Your journey with Allah is never linear. It rises and falls, twists and turns, yet every movement carries purpose. The Almighty places you in situations designed to teach you compassion, wisdom, and patience. Each stage of your life contributes to the next. You may not see the full picture today, but the design becomes clear as you move forward. His plan is revealed step by step. What appears to you as a small change may actually be the beginning of a major blessing. The Almighty often initiates transformation through subtle signs. These signs guide your decisions and influence your direction. With time, you learn to recognize how He communicates through events, opportunities, and emotional shifts. This awareness enriches your connection with Him. Your relationship with Allah deepens through moments of surrender. When you stop wrestling with your own plans and place your trust in His wisdom, the journey becomes smoother. You feel supported even when the outcome is unknown. This trust creates an inner serenity that cannot be achieved through worldly means. It becomes a gift that carries you through every challenge, and each chapter of your life contains a combination of tests and blessings. The Almighty knows exactly when to introduce each element. He gives you what your heart needs to grow and removes what would hold you back. With this balance, you develop into someone stronger, wiser, and more grateful. You begin to recognize the perfection of His timing. What you once wished for may no longer match who you become. As you grow, your needs change, and the Almighty adjusts your path accordingly. His plan evolves with your heart. You may seek one outcome, but He grants another that aligns better with your development. This alignment brings a deeper sense of fulfillment than anything you originally desired. The future Allah designs for you is shaped with mercy, protection, and precision. Every moment today contributes to the blessings ahead. Your journey is not random. It is written with care by the one who never makes mistakes. When His plan unfolds, you realize it was far more beautiful than anything you tried to create for yourself. Transformation often unfolds in ways the heart does not immediately notice. While you move through your ordinary days, the Almighty adjusts your thoughts, emotions, and intentions in gentle ways. These inner shifts prepare you for blessings that require maturity and clarity. The process may feel subtle, yet it carries deep meaning. You only recognize its beauty when you see how far you have come. Growth never arrives with noise. It settles into your life silently. The Almighty refines your heart through experiences that appear small on the surface but carry enormous influence. A conversation, a setback, or a moment of reflection can reshape the direction of your life. These encounters help you develop traits that elevate your soul. They become turning points that guide you toward goodness. With time, you appreciate how perfectly they were placed on your path. Inner change often begins with discomfort. You may question why certain emotions rise within you, yet those emotions push you to reconsider the choices you make. They guide you toward healthier habits and stronger faith. Through this process, the Almighty removes what burdens you, replacing it with sincerity and calmness. You begin to understand yourself in a deeper way. This understanding becomes your gateway to grow. You may notice a shift in what your heart is drawn to. The Almighty softens your attraction to harmful paths and increases your love for what uplifts your soul. This redirection is a sign of His mercy. He protects you from choices that would weaken your spirit. As your preferences change, you find comfort in guidance that once felt challenging. Your priorities align with what brings long-term peace. Transformation unfolds when the Almighty places you in situations that challenge your assumptions. You might have believed a certain path was right for you, but new experiences reveal a better option. Through this revelation, your understanding expands. You recognize that true wisdom comes when you allow your heart to be reshaped. Each encounter becomes a teacher that refines your character. Growth is often unnoticed until you face a situation that once overwhelmed you. Suddenly, you respond with maturity, patience, or wisdom that surprises you. This shift is evidence of divine nurture. The Almighty has been cultivating strength within you quietly. He prepares your heart long before you need the qualities He instills. Such preparation becomes a blessing you carry into every new challenge. The Almighty also transforms your outlook. You begin to view hardships not as obstacles, but as opportunities for elevation. This new perspective changes how you react to every difficulty. Instead of breaking down, you rise with hope. Instead of surrendering, you lean on prayer. These changes might feel soft at first, but they reshape your entire journey. You may find your trust in Allah deepening through subtle reflections. A verse you read, a reminder you hear, or a thought that crosses your mind can awaken your heart. These reflections renew your focus on your purpose. They draw you closer to the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and remind you of the value of sincerity. Through these quiet reminders, your connection with the Almighty strengthens. Small acts of worship begin to influence you in ways you did not anticipate. A brief moment of dhikr, a short prayer made in private, or a silent plea during hardship can bring spiritual clarity. These acts become seeds planted in your heart. Over time, they grow into a deep sense of gratitude and peace. This spiritual expansion leads you toward a better version of yourself. The Almighty removes bitterness, anxiety, and negativity gradually. You may wake up one day and realize your heart feels lighter. This change did not happen overnight. It was crafted through a series of gentle shifts. Each step forward softened you, healed you, and purified you. The result is a heart more ready to receive His blessings. Transformation also occurs when old wounds begin to fade. Pain you carried for years becomes less heavy. This healing allows you to move forward instead of being held back by the past. The Almighty eases the burden slowly so you can learn, forgive, and grow. Through this release, you gain the strength to embrace new opportunities. You begin to value silence, reflection, and sincerity in your actions. The Almighty nurtures qualities that bring tranquility to your heart. This calmness shapes your behavior in ways that uplift your relationships and deepen your worship. You become more mindful of your intentions and more grateful for the blessings you once overlooked. You may find that your reliance on the world decreases while your reliance on the Almighty increases. This shift changes the way you navigate difficulties. You no longer search for solutions externally. You turn inward toward prayer and trust. This reliance becomes the foundation of your strength. It transforms your emotional landscape completely. As the Almighty guides you through inner change, you become more compassionate. You begin to understand others with empathy rather than judgment. This compassion enriches your character. It opens doors to meaningful relationships and opportunities to help others. Through this change, you reflect the mercy that Allah loves to see in His servants. You may begin to distance yourself from influences that once distracted your heart. This distancing is not forced. It happens naturally. The Almighty removes your attachment to what harms you and draws you toward what elevates you. Through this shift, your environment becomes more aligned with your purpose. You find yourself in places and among people who strengthen your faith. Transformation becomes evident when you appreciate blessings that previously felt insignificant. The sunrise, a quiet moment, a sincere smile, or a small act of kindness becomes a reminder of divine mercy. This awareness enriches your heart with gratitude. Gratitude then becomes a doorway to more blessings. The Almighty increases the good in your life when you recognize it. Your thoughts begin to align with hope rather than fear. The Almighty places reassurance in your heart that your future holds goodness. This reassurance gives you courage to move forward. You begin to let go of worry and embrace trust. Through this inner shift, your outlook on life transforms entirely. You start noticing how the Almighty removes obstacles from your path without you even asking. These quiet interventions prove that His care surrounds you constantly. Each removed burden opens space for something better. You learn that the divine plan is active even when you feel nothing is happening. As you grow, you begin to recognize the wisdom behind past challenges. What once felt confusing now appears purposeful. Your heart gains clarity and your mind gains strength. This understanding becomes a sign that the Almighty was guiding you through every step of the journey. You realize nothing was wasted. By the time you reach a new chapter of your life, you look back and see how each small transformation led you to meaningful change. The Almighty shaped your heart, refined your character, and cleared your path. These quiet transformations guided you toward a future filled with blessing, mercy, and growth. What felt invisible became the foundation of your greatest good. Life often places you in moments that do not make sense to you, yet the Almighty carries you through them with a wisdom far deeper than your awareness. You may feel uncertain, but the help of Allah surrounds you in ways that cannot be measured. He supports your heart when it feels heavy and guides your steps when the path is unfamiliar. Through this unseen guidance, you are lifted gently toward clarity. You realize later that His hand was with you all along. You might walk through phases where your plans fall apart and you cannot understand why. In those moments, the Almighty is removing you from paths that would not have benefited you. His protection is often wrapped in events that appear confusing at first. As time passes, the wisdom behind those moments becomes clearer. You begin to appreciate His care in ways you never noticed before. When hardship enters your life, it may feel like a burden too heavy to carry, yet the Almighty strengthens you in hidden ways. He places patience in your heart, hope in your mind, and resilience in your soul. These gifts allow you to rise even when you feel overwhelmed. You may not understand the purpose of the difficulty, but you feel His support guiding you forward. A person may worry about the future, not realizing that Allah is already managing it with absolute precision. He prepares ease long before hardship arrives. He writes relief before the trial even begins. While you focus on the problem in front of you, He arranges the solution behind the scenes. You are lifted through each phase by His mercy, even when the path appears dark. You may question why certain tests come your way, yet these tests often refine your heart in ways comfort never could. Through them, the Almighty pulls you closer to Him. You learn reliance, patience, and humility in their purest form. These qualities become the tools that elevate you. Eventually, you understand that the test was not a burden, but a gift that shaped your soul. The Almighty may place you in situations where your strength seems limited. In those moments, you discover that the source of true strength is not within you, but given to you. He lifts you when you fall and supports you when you feel lost. This support teaches you the value of surrender, trust, and prayer. From that trust comes a peace that carries you through the unknown. Guidance often arrives in ways you do not recognize immediately. A closed door, a change in direction, or a sudden shift in your life may confuse you at first, Yet each shift is designed to steer you towards something better. Allah guides your steps even when your mind cannot comprehend the path. With time, you see that every change was leading you toward goodness. You may encounter delays that feel frustrating, yet these delays protect you from outcomes that would have harmed your heart. The Almighty slows your journey only to align you with something more meaningful. He lifts you away from haste and places you in the rhythm that brings the greatest benefit. When the right moment arrives, everything falls into place effortlessly. At times you may feel isolated, as if your prayers go unheard. Yet those quiet moments are often when you are being lifted the most. Allah listens even when you speak no words. He responds even when you feel unworthy. Through His mercy, you receive guidance, comfort, and clarity in ways that transform your heart. You discover that silence does not mean neglect, it means preparation. You might notice your heart softening over time, allowing you to see life through a more grateful lens. This softening is a sign that the Almighty is healing you from within. He replaces your anxieties with trust, your confusion with patience, and your sorrow with hope. Through this inner healing, you gain the strength to face what once overwhelmed you. Your relationship with Allah deepens during trials. Hardship teaches you sincerity in prayer, humility in worship, and gratitude in recovery. These qualities elevate your spiritual state. They bring you closer to the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Through this closeness, you are lifted into a life of purpose and clarity. The Almighty supports you through people placed in your life at the right moment. A kind word, a timely reminder, or a gesture of compassion can shift your entire perspective. These interactions are not coincidences. They are signs of divine care. Through them, you realize that He sends help in the most subtle ways. The path to healing may feel slow, yet each day brings progress you may not recognize. Allah removes heaviness from your heart in gentle stages. He allows clarity to replace confusion. This gradual lifting strengthens you more deeply than an instant change would have. You become someone capable of facing the world with renewed courage. Understanding often comes after the storm has passed. You look back and realize the moments that felt painful were the very moments that shaped your strength. Allah lifted you through difficulties that once seemed impossible. Those experiences become proof that His help never leaves you. They strengthen your trust in future challenges. Growth frequently emerges from situations that were not part of your plans. You may feel redirected, but each redirection guides you toward a better outcome. The Almighty removes what limits you and introduces what elevates you. This unseen assistance becomes clearer with every passing day. You begin to recognize the beauty within His choices for you. You might feel unsure about the road ahead, yet every step you take is supported by divine wisdom. Allah lifts you with knowledge far beyond your understanding. He places insight in your heart when you need it most. This insight helps you make decisions that align with your ultimate good. His guidance becomes a light that never fades. As you grow spiritually, you begin to see the wisdom in events that once confused you. You realize that every hardship carried hidden kindness and every delay protected you. This understanding deepens your gratitude. Gratitude then becomes a source of elevation that lifts your heart toward peace. When you face moments where nothing makes sense, remember that Allah understands every detail of your life. While you see only one moment at a time, He sees the entire journey. His protection surrounds you in ways you cannot comprehend. Knowing this brings comfort that eases your worries. It reminds you that you are never alone. Both clarity and wisdom arrive. You understand that the Almighty was lifting you through every confusion and helping you reach a place of peace. His plan always carried goodness, even when you could not understand it. You walk forward with renewed faith, knowing that the one who lifted you before will lift you again. You recognize how beautifully you were carried through what once felt overwhelming. The Almighty's mercy was shaping your journey at every moment. Through His guidance, strength, and protection, you were lifted into a future filled with meaning. What you once questioned becomes a source of gratitude that deepens your trust in His plan. The Almighty often clears your path in ways your heart does not recognize at first. What feels like disruption may actually be the removal of obstacles holding you back. You may not notice the weight lifted until you see how easily new blessings begin to flow. This gentle guidance steers you toward a future shaped with wisdom. Each shift prepares you for better days ahead. His mercy works quietly but powerfully. An unexpected change in your life may look confusing, yet it often signals that Allah is clearing space for something greater. A door may close, but it was never meant for you. A plan may collapse, but it was shielding you from unseen harm. With time, you begin to notice how beautifully He redirected you. Your heart grows calmer as you trust His decisions more deeply. The Almighty clears your path by removing people who drain your strength. You might feel hurt when distance grows, but that distance protects your peace. It makes room for relationships that nourish your soul. Through this removal, you learn that not every presence adds value. Allah places you among those who uplift your character and guide you toward goodness. A delay may frustrate you in the moment, yet delays often hide immense mercy. The Almighty slows your journey only to place you in the right moment with the right outcome. You might have rushed into something harmful if the delay had not stopped you. The pause becomes a form of protection. Later, you realize how perfectly the timing unfolded. Challenges can serve as tools to clear your vision. The Almighty uses hardship to show you what truly matters and what does not. Through this clarity, you become more focused and grounded. You let go of distractions that once consumed your energy. This refined clarity opens new paths that were impossible to notice before. You walk forward with purpose. A gentle shift in your feelings can also be a sign that Allah is guiding you. What you once chased may no longer attract your heart. The change comes quietly, yet it steers you toward choices aligned with your future. You realize your desires were being purified. Through this inner adjustment, your path becomes clearer than ever. You may find new opportunities appearing without effort. These moments are not coincidences. They are gifts placed on your path by the Almighty. He aligns circumstances so that ease surrounds you. The right people, ideas, and solutions appear exactly when needed. This ease reminds you that divine help is constantly active in your life. Obstacles that once seemed unmovable begin to dissolve. The Almighty removes them without your intervention. Problems that troubled your heart lose their power. You step forward with renewed confidence, recognizing that His help is greater than any challenge. With each obstacle cleared, your gratitude deepens. The Almighty clears your path by strengthening your intuition. Certain choices begin to feel wrong, even if they look appealing. This discomfort is protection. It keeps you from walking into situations that would harm your spirit. When you follow that inner guidance, you find that peace accompanies your decisions. Peace is one of the clearest signs of divine approval. You may feel drawn toward new environments that nurture your growth. Allah places you where your heart finds clarity and where your faith becomes stronger. New surroundings shift your mindset and renew your motivation. Through this relocation of the heart, you begin to see possibilities you never imagined before. Each shift opens a new chapter. Unexpected kindness can also be a sign that Allah is clearing your path. A word of encouragement, a supportive gesture, or a timely reminder can change your outlook entirely. These small gifts brighten your journey. They remind you that the Almighty sends help through people in ways you could never predict. Every kindness is a sign of His mercy. The Almighty may clear your path by lifting burdens you carried for years. Emotional heaviness begins to fade, replaced with calmness and hope. This transformation frees you to pursue goals and dreams that once felt impossible. You recognize that healing is part of His plan for better days. Healing becomes the doorway to new beginnings. Your habits begin to shift in subtle ways. You become more intentional, more reflective, and more aware of your purpose. These changes shape your character. As you grow, harmful patterns fall away naturally. This inner evolution clears your path from within. The more you refine your heart, the smoother your journey becomes. Unexpected wisdom emerges from experiences you once wished to avoid. Lessons you gained during hardship prepare you for blessings you could not have handled before. Each lesson strengthens your resilience. You begin to value the growth that came from difficulty. The Almighty used the challenge to lift you, not to burden you. New clarity enters your mind during moments of reflection. Thoughts align with truth and confusion fades. The Almighty opens your understanding, allowing you to see your life from a higher perspective. Through this clarity, you make decisions that lead to success. You feel guided, protected, and supported. Peace enters your heart in situations that once brought fear. This shift is a sign that Allah has cleared the emotional obstacles within you. Peace replaces anxiety. Trust replaces worry. This inner peace is a powerful form of divine guidance. It helps you walk confidently into your future. The Almighty clears your path by removing your dependence on what weakens your faith. You learn to rely more on prayer, trust, and patience. These qualities open doors that effort alone cannot open. Through this reliance, your journey becomes lighter. You feel supported even in the unknown. Blessings begin to appear in areas of your life that once felt empty. New opportunities, new understanding, and new strength arise. These gifts signal that the Almighty has opened a new phase for you. The future begins to brighten in ways you did not expect. Hope becomes a constant companion. You may realize that events you once questioned were actually guiding you towards something better. Every challenge had a purpose. Every shift carried lessons. Every pause protected you. This realization deepens your appreciation for divine planning. You begin to trust the unfolding of your journey wholeheartedly. You recognize how perfectly Allah cleared your path. Each change, each removal, each closed door was shaping a brighter horizon. His mercy guided you through unseen ways, preparing you for better days that were always written for you. Gratitude fills your heart as you witness the beauty of His plan. The Almighty shapes your journey through wisdom that extends far beyond what you can perceive. You live one moment at a time while He sees the entire path from beginning to end. When He redirects you, it is not to confuse you, but to place you where your heart will flourish. Each unseen action is part of a larger design that carries mercy. Only later do you realize how perfectly everything was arranged. You may strive toward goals that appear important, yet the Almighty knows which paths would weaken your spirit. He gently moves you away from them even when you are unaware. These hidden shifts protect your inner peace. You might feel uncertain in the moment, but the protection behind the uncertainty becomes clear as life unfolds. His care is closer than you imagine. Your journey is shaped with layers of meaning that reveal themselves gradually. The Almighty allows you to experience certain challenges not to burden you, but to awaken qualities that would otherwise remain dormant. Through these hidden lessons, you gain patience, gratitude, and humility. These qualities prepare you for blessings meant for your future growth begins long before you notice it. Guidance often comes through events you never expected. A setback, a mistake, or an unexpected change may shift your direction entirely. The Almighty uses these moments to free you from paths that would limit your growth. You only understand the purpose later when the blessing finally arrives. At that moment, you see how every detail connected seamlessly. You may question why certain opportunities disappear, yet those missed chances protect you from outcomes not aligned with your destiny. The Almighty removes what would burden your heart. Even when you cling to something, He knows which direction leads to peace. His decisions are always rooted in kindness, even when they feel difficult at first. Hidden mercy surrounds you in every phase of your journey. You may not feel it while struggling, but the Almighty keeps you away from harm, both visible and unseen. You are guided through delicate moments without realizing how many dangers have been removed from your way. His protection is one of the greatest signs of His love. The Almighty shapes your heart before shaping your destiny. He allows you to experience emotional shifts that prepare you for what lies ahead. You may feel drawn to new values, new habits, and new ways of thinking. These inner changes steer you toward the version of yourself that can handle future blessings. Your preparation begins internally before it becomes visible. Many blessings arrive only after you gain the strength to carry them. The Almighty builds that strength through challenges that refine your character. You may not understand why those challenges appear, but each one shapes you in meaningful ways. Once you look back, you recognize how those hardships built the foundation for your future. You may feel disconnected from a direction you once believed in. This disconnection is not accidental. The Almighty gradually removes your attachment to what no longer serves your growth. Through this shift, He opens room in your heart for something far better. What felt confusing becomes a blessing in disguise. Clarity often arrives in stages. The Almighty reveals understanding when your heart is ready for it. He does not overwhelm you with the full picture all at once. Instead, He gives you enough insight to take your next step with confidence. Through this gradual unfolding, your trust deepens. Trust becomes your compass. Your journey includes people who appear briefly yet influence your path greatly. The Almighty introduces these individuals with purpose. They may guide you, support you, or teach you valuable lessons. Once their role is complete, they drift away. Only later do you notice how beautifully they contributed to your growth. Strength is often placed within you without your awareness. You might endure something difficult and only realize later that you handled it with a strength you did not know you had. This strength was granted to you by Allah, preparing you for future responsibilities. It is a hidden gift that carries you forward. Your heart may be pulled away from certain desires. This shift is a sign that the Almighty is protecting you from choices that would harm your spirit. He places uneasiness in your heart to alert you before you take a step that isn't right for you. When you follow that instinct, you walk toward a more peaceful future. Blessings reach you through doors you never thought would open. The Almighty arranges opportunities in ways that defy human planning. You might have worried about a situation only to see it resolve effortlessly through divine intervention. These moments remind you that Allah manages your affairs better than you ever could. The Almighty shapes your journey through moments of reflection that deepen your understanding. A single thought may shift your entire outlook. A reminder may heal something within you. These subtle moments are signs of divine guidance. Through them, you realize how often He speaks to your heart without a sound. Healing is placed in your life in gentle forms. The Almighty removes emotional burdens gradually so you can move forward without the weight of the past. You begin to feel lighter, calmer, and more hopeful. This renewal is part of His plan to prepare you for blessings that require a peaceful heart. Healing becomes the doorway to new beginnings. Certain paths in your life become blocked for reasons you do not understand. These blockages are hidden forms of mercy. The Almighty prevents you from stepping into situations that would harm your future. Only later do you understand what you were saved from. The relief you feel becomes a reminder of His constant protection. Your relationship with Allah strengthens most during phases that feel unclear. Uncertainty pushes you toward prayer. Confusion pushes you toward reflection. Through these moments, the Almighty draws you closer to Him. That closeness becomes one of the greatest gifts of your journey. It carries you into a life filled with meaning. And the more your journey unfolds, the more you realize that nothing was random. Each delay had purpose. Each redirection carried wisdom. Each hardship prepared you. The Almighty shaped your steps with precision. What once felt confusing becomes a source of gratitude. You begin to trust His unseen design completely. You recognize the beauty in the way Allah guided you through things you never understood at the time. Every hidden choice, every quiet intervention, every unseen act of mercy shaped your path. The journey He designed was far greater than the one you imagined for yourself. His wisdom surrounded you in every step. A test may enter your life quietly, yet it carries a purpose deeper than pain. The Almighty uses challenges to soften what has become hard and strengthen what has become weak. Through each experience, your heart learns to let go of what burdens it. You develop resilience that cannot be gained through ease alone. What feels heavy today becomes the tool that shapes your strength tomorrow. The Almighty knows how to guide you through difficulties in ways that elevate your soul. Hardship reveals qualities hidden within you, qualities you never realized you possessed. You discover patience in moments that overwhelm you and courage in moments that frighten you. These discoveries shape your character. Over time, you begin to see that the test was preparing you for blessings. Every challenge teaches you something about reliance. The heart learns to trust the Almighty more deeply when worldly solutions fall short. Prayer becomes your anchor, and humility becomes your teacher. Through this reliance, you gain a type of clarity that only hardship can offer. This clarity helps you handle future moments with grace and wisdom. Hardship breaks attachments that limit your growth. The Almighty uses tests to free your heart from things you cling to unnecessarily. You may lose something you believed was essential, only to realize later how much peace arrived in its absence. Through this release, your heart becomes more open to what truly benefits your future. Growth often begins in the moments you resist the most. When a challenge blocks your path, you look for alternatives you never considered before. This exploration expands your understanding and encourages you to move beyond your comfort zone. The Almighty guides you toward a version of yourself that is wiser, stronger, and more grounded. A test can reveal the sincerity of your faith. When life is smooth, faith feels effortless. Hardship, however, tests the depth of your conviction. It pushes you to hold on to prayer even when answers seem distant. Through this perseverance, you gain a deeper appreciation of the messages taught by the Prophet, peace be upon him. Your heart becomes anchored in truth. Some tests are meant to soften your heart. You may become more compassionate because of what you endured. Hardship teaches you to empathize with others in ways that comfort them genuinely. The Almighty nurtures this tenderness within you so you can be a source of mercy for those around you. Through this compassion, you reflect qualities beloved to Allah. The Almighty places challenges in your path to purify your intentions. You begin to act with sincerity, not for recognition. Hardship humbles your soul and reminds you of the value of gratitude. Through this purification, your actions carry more meaning. You feel closer to Allah because your worship is rooted in genuine devotion. Tests often redirect you toward your true purpose. A setback may push you away from distractions that once consumed your life. It guides you to environments that support your spiritual growth. This redirection may feel painful at first, but it becomes one of the greatest blessings when you recognize the wisdom behind it. The heart gains strength by facing challenges that seem impossible. The Almighty grants you endurance that grows with each trial. You learn to carry burdens with patience, knowing relief will come at the appointed time. This strength becomes essential for future responsibilities and blessings that require maturity. A test may reveal weaknesses you were unaware of. This awareness is not meant to break you, but to help you grow. When you recognize these vulnerabilities, you begin to improve them through reflection and worship. Over time, you transform into someone far stronger than you once were. The Almighty uses this growth to prepare you for greater gifts. Tests often break illusions that prevent you from moving forward. You may discover that a situation you once trusted was never meant for you. This revelation clears your path. You learn to place your trust in the Almighty rather than what is temporary. Through this shift, your heart gains stability and certainty. Hardship can deepen your gratitude in profound ways. When relief finally arrives, you appreciate blessings you once overlooked. Gratitude lights your heart and draws more mercy into your life. The Almighty increases His gifts to those who recognize them. Your appreciation becomes part of your spiritual transformation. Tests refine your patience. True patience is not merely waiting, it is remaining calm, hopeful, and trusting during the wait. The Almighty teaches you this refined patience through experiences that require restraint. As you grow in patience, your heart becomes more capable of handling future challenges with dignity. Your faith evolves through trials. You move from questioning why something happened to trusting that every event is part of a divine plan. This transition marks a powerful shift in your spiritual maturity. The Almighty prepares you through each challenge to embrace this perspective. Once it settles in your heart, life feels lighter. Hardship reveals how deeply the Almighty cares for you. Even in difficulty, you feel moments of unexpected ease, comfort, or guidance. These moments remind you that you are never walking alone. Each sign of help strengthens your bond with Allah. This bond becomes a source of comfort during every challenge ahead. Tests remove arrogance and replace it with humility. Through difficulties, you understand your limitations and recognize your dependence on the Almighty. This humility allows spiritual growth to flourish. It protects your heart from pride and keeps your soul grounded. Humility becomes one of the greatest gifts from hardship. Your journey becomes clearer after each test. You learn lessons that shape your decisions and sharpen your understanding. This clarity prepares you for new phases of your life that require wisdom. You step into these phases with stronger insight and greater appreciation for divine timing. The Almighty readies you for each chapter before it begins. Hardship strengthens your relationship with prayer. Prayer becomes more heartfelt when made from a place of vulnerability. Through sincere supplication, your heart finds peace. This reinforces your connection with the Almighty. You walk away from tests with a deeper love for worship. Your heart realizes how much it has changed. You understand that every test was not a setback, but a step forward. Each challenge prepared you for blessings you once were not ready to receive. The Almighty shaped your heart through every difficulty, guiding you toward a future filled with purpose, strength, and mercy. Before any blessing touches your life, the Almighty prepares pathways you cannot yet recognize. Events unfold quietly in the background, shaping the exact environment needed for your blessing to reach you flawlessly. People move in and out of your life according to divine placement. Opportunities shift locations so you meet them at the right moment. Everything aligns with wisdom. Only He understands. The Almighty never rushes the formation of a blessing. Each detail is placed with care, just as a seed grows beneath the soil long before a sprout appears. You may feel nothing is changing, but work is being done in layers hidden from your sight. Hearts are adjusted, circumstances are altered, and your own spirit is refined. When the blessing arrives, you realize the preparation was perfect. Paths you thought were blocked begin to make sense when you recognize how they protected you from harm. What felt like delay becomes proof of divine mercy, guiding you through safer routes. The Almighty shields you from outcomes that would have weakened you. Every redirection carries a wisdom that reveals itself once your blessing unfolds. You realize the detours saved your heart. The Almighty often places support around you long before you realize you will need it. A person you meet casually might become a source of strength years later. A small decision made with hesitation may lead you toward a life-changing moment. These arrangements happen quietly and precisely. Nothing is ever random when guided by divine knowledge. Your blessing may require emotional preparation that only life's challenges can build. The Almighty shapes your resilience through experiences that stretch your patience. Each lesson equips you with the maturity to handle what is coming. When the blessing enters your life, your heart is ready to honor it instead of collapse beneath its weight. Preparation becomes a gift itself. Opportunities may shift in ways that confuse you at first, yet each shift is part of a greater alignment. The Almighty rearranges your environment so you meet the right doors at the right stage of your spiritual growth. When you finally encounter them, you walk through with confidence. You realize everything opened exactly when it was meant to. Blessings move toward you, even when you feel unworthy. The Almighty's mercy is far greater than your mistakes. He readies the future with kindness that surpasses what you would prepare for yourself. You may struggle to see progress, yet divine planning continues without pause. The blessing arrives wrapped in forgiveness and hope, reminding you of His boundless generosity. The Almighty places ease in places you least expected. A hardship might soften, a closed opportunity might reappear in a better form, or a burden may lighten in a way that strengthens your faith. These moments are not coincidences. They are signs that the blessing is drawing closer, guided with precision toward your life. Every blessing is delivered through a chain of events crafted over time. The Almighty connects hearts, creates openings, and removes obstacles with flawless timing. Even setbacks contribute to the arrival of your blessing by shaping your understanding. When everything finally appears, you see how each step was essential. Your blessing might depend on another person's journey as well. The Almighty guides them through their own growth. so they are ready to serve as part of your story. You both move through different paths until your timelines meet. When unity happens, you recognize the divine synchronization behind it. The Almighty conceals progress, so your heart remains sincere. If everything was visible, pride or impatience could weaken your gratitude. The hidden nature of divine planning protects your character and trains your soul in humility. Once the blessing arrives, your appreciation is deeper because you walk through uncertainty with trust. The Almighty arranges events in a way that leads you toward spiritual clarity. A hardship might clear distractions, freeing your heart from what dimmed your focus. Through this cleansing, your blessing approaches a healthier version of you. When it arrives, you embrace it with pure intentions and a grounded heart. Your blessing may be delayed to protect you from relying on what will not last. The Almighty teaches you to rely on Him alone before granting you what you desire. This training ensures your heart holds gratitude instead of obsession. When your blessing arrives, it becomes a source of peace rather than a source of anxiety. The Almighty places wisdom in your journey through people who appear briefly yet leave a lasting impact. A single conversation may redirect your thoughts toward growth. A random encounter may inspire a crucial decision. These subtle touches of mercy guide you toward what He has written for you. The path toward your blessing may feel unfamiliar because the Almighty guides you beyond your limited expectations. He leads you toward opportunities you would never have chosen alone. When the blessing arrives, you recognize how His plan offered more goodness than you imagined. The Almighty often hides your blessing behind patience. This allows your heart to learn gratitude, humility, and trust. You may feel unprepared, yet divine preparation continues quietly. Once the blessing appears, you realize it came exactly when you matured enough to appreciate it. Unexpected events may shift your direction completely, only for you to discover that these shifts form the foundation of your blessing. The Almighty repositions your steps with gentle precision. What seemed like disruption becomes the bridge that carries you into a better chapter. The Almighty prepares your blessing in ways that build your inner strength. You learn to let go, to forgive, to begin again, and to stand firm in faith. This inner shaping is essential, for blessings require hearts that can carry responsibility with wisdom. By the time your blessing arrives, you have grown into someone who can handle it. Every unanswered prayer holds divine activity behind the curtain of the unseen. The Almighty arranges outcomes that surpass the version you requested. You may feel unheard, yet your blessing is being crafted with greater beauty. When it arrives, you see why the wait was necessary. When the blessing finally reaches you, the pieces fit together flawlessly. You look back and notice how each challenge, delay, and redirection carried meaning. The Almighty had been preparing everything long before you understood. Your heart realizes that nothing was ever delayed. It was being made perfect. The future written for you is built with a mercy deeper than anything you have known. The Almighty shapes every chapter with kindness that often goes unnoticed until the moment of clarity arrives. You may walk through uncertainty, yet His compassion surrounds you, even when you cannot feel it. The future designed for you carries gifts that heal, elevate, and strengthen your heart. With time, the wisdom behind each moment becomes undeniable. You may wonder why certain prayers feel unanswered, yet every delay carries divine protection. The Almighty withholds what harms you and grants what nurtures your soul. You are led through pathways that cultivate patience, gratitude, and trust. Each step refines your character in preparation for what lies ahead. Through this refinement, you uncover the mercy hidden beneath unanswered requests. The path to your future is woven with lessons meant to guide your growth. The Almighty grants experiences that soften your attitude toward life and deepen your understanding of His compassion. Hardship teaches resilience, and ease teaches gratitude. Both states shape your heart uniquely. In the end, you realize every moment played a role in preparing you for what was written. The mercy behind your future can be found in the moments that forced you to slow down. You may have sought progress, but the Almighty grants pace according to your capacity. By guiding your journey gradually, He protects you from being overwhelmed. This gentle pacing becomes one of the greatest favors. though only recognized when reflecting upon the past. You are guided through interactions that influence your thinking and strengthen your character. A brief encounter or kind word may redirect your entire mindset. The Almighty places these influences strategically, so your heart moves toward maturity. This unseen care reveals the depth of His mercy. You realize how meticulously your future has been shaped. The Almighty grants clarity when your heart is ready to receive it. Confusion may linger until the moment of transformation arrives. Through this process, you learn to lean on Him with sincerity. This reliance becomes a source of strength that serves you long after the moment of clarity passes. You begin to appreciate the unseen mercy behind each gradual revelation. Painful experiences can unlock wisdom that ease could never provide. Through emotional trials, your heart learns humility, empathy, and detachment from worldly illusions. These qualities equip you for blessings that require spiritual grounding. The Almighty prepares you through the very moments you hope to avoid, revealing mercy within discomfort. Your future holds blessings you would not have known to request. The Almighty gives beyond imagination, beyond expectation, beyond limitation. He crafts outcomes that elevate you spiritually and emotionally. When these blessings reach you, gratitude floods your heart. You recognize that the mercy of Allah surpasses what you would have planned for yourself. Relationships that end often carry mercy hidden in their departure. The Almighty removes what blocks your growth and replaces it with what nurtures your peace hearts. That leave your life creates space for those chosen by divine wisdom. Over time, you understand how each departure protected your future. This understanding unveils mercy where you once felt loss. Unexpected turns in your journey redirect you toward opportunities that align perfectly with your purpose. Even confusion becomes a tool for realignment. The Almighty shifts your path in ways that guide you toward a brighter chapter. When the pieces finally come together, the mercy behind each redirection becomes unmistakable. The natural delays you face contain profound care. The Almighty knows the precise moment your heart can handle what you seek. By holding back certain blessings, He preserves your well-being. Once the right moment arrives, the blessing feels effortless. You then see how mercy shaped the timing of your future. Your spiritual growth is one of the greatest signs of divine mercy. As you learn to pray with sincerity and trust with confidence, your heart moves closer to the Almighty. This closeness brings calmness that no material gift can match. The future written for you includes these moments of spiritual elevation, revealing mercy through inner transformation. The Almighty shields you from hidden harm in ways you may never witness directly. Opportunities may vanish, people may walk away, plans may collapse, yet every shift carries unseen protection. When the future unfolds smoothly, you look back and recognize how divine mercy shaped the journey behind the scenes. The mercy written into your future includes healing from wounds that once overshadowed your life. The Almighty does not leave a heart wounded without preparing nourishment for its recovery. Over time, you notice how your strength returns, how peace grows, and how hope revives. This healing itself becomes a blessing greater than what you had lost. The Almighty aligns your future with lessons drawn from your past. Experiences that once overwhelmed you eventually contribute to your wisdom. This wisdom protects you from repeating previous mistakes. It guides you toward healthier decisions and clearer vision. Through this, you uncover mercy woven into every past difficulty. Every moment of confusion carries the seed of enlightenment. The Almighty allows uncertainty, so you search for Him more sincerely. Through this search, your heart discovers comfort in remembrance. The future written for you includes this spiritual awakening, one that fills your soul with calmness and conviction. The mercy behind your future appears in the form of strength you never knew you had. Challenges stretch your limits until resilience emerges. This strength becomes essential for the blessings that require maturity and responsibility. Over time, you recognize how divine mercy prepared you for what you once feared. Your future is written with precision that reflects perfect knowledge. The Almighty provides what benefits you, even when you misjudge your own needs. You may desire something temporary, yet He grants what lasts. This depth of care reveals the immense mercy within your destiny. You realize that every aspect was crafted for your ultimate good. The mercy behind your future becomes clearer with each chapter you live. You begin to understand that nothing was wasted, nothing was accidental, nothing was overlooked. The Almighty guided your path with compassion that extended far beyond your awareness. You walk forward with confidence, knowing His mercy is present in every step. When you finally reach the blessings written for you, gratitude fills your heart. You recognize how each trial prepared you, how each detour shaped you, and how each delay protected you. The future you walk into reflects the mercy of a Lord who never leaves His servants unattended. Your destiny unfolds with beauty crafted by the one who knows what your heart needs most. The future awaiting you is crafted with a mercy far greater than your imagination. Every stage of your journey is guided by the Almighty's wisdom, even when the path feels unclear. What He has written for you carries goodness that will unfold at the perfect moment. Walk forward with trust, remain patient through the unseen, and know that the one who created your heart will never neglect its needs. Your blessings are on their way, shaped with precision, delivered with kindness, and designed to bring you closer to Him.